Hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to This Week in Your Daily Star Trek News. Today is Saturday, November 13th, 2021. Coming up on the show today, the big news is that Star Trek Discovery Season 4 is about to start, so we've got some information there. We've also got new details on what's going to happen for the rest of the season of Star Trek Prodigy. And additionally to that, we're talking about the new Star Trek film, which has been delayed. And also, Wil Wheaton's wife, Anne, has talked about a really scary medical incident that Will had back in August. My name is Alison Pitt, and today's show is supported by people like you through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/daily Star Trek news. Now, if you are listening to me on the podcast today, I would like to invite you to come over and join us on the live stream over on YouTube. We do that every Saturday at 2 p.m. Pacific time. There are lots of people in the chat, and it's a tremendous amount of fun. I do the news, we do a little bit of show and tell, and then we talk about today's poll, which I will get onto in a second. Before we get to that, I just want to remind you that all of the news stories that we talk about today are on dailystartreknews.com. We've got more pictures, videos, links to all of the original sources, and there's extras on there too, like a little bit of trivia or the week's events listing. So please go and check that out. Anyway, I promised you guys a poll. If you're watching me live today on YouTube, there is a poll in the chat, so please put your vote in there. This is also running simultaneously with the poll on Twitter, which is twitter.com/Daily Trek News, Daily Trek News. But what's the poll? Okay, so the poll today is: which supporting character are you most looking forward to seeing back in action in Star Trek Discovery Season 4? Of course, that starts this coming Thursday, so yay. Uh, I've picked some, I don't know, they're my favorite characters, so you guys can tell me. Write-in votes are accepted, by the way. You've got your choice between Jet Reno, Linus the Saurian, Owo and her gold eyeliner, and Grudge the cat. So your four choices again: Reno, Linus, Owo, and Grudge the cat. Let me know what you think. You can participate in the poll here in the chat or over on Twitter at Daily Trek News. So go and check that out, and we'll check in on the results at the end of today's show. So, right, let's go ahead and get started. And as I seem to be starting off the show a lot lately, we have another two members of our Star Trek family who have sadly passed away this week. One, the obituary is already up on our site. The other one you'll see in the next couple of days. So the first is Dean Stockwell, who you have no doubt heard by now. He's famous for many other things besides Star Trek, but he was a guest star on Star Trek. Deadline.com reported his death of natural causes on November 7th. He was 85 years old, and most of you will remember him from the part of Al Calavici on Quantum Leap, where he, of course, played opposite Scott Bakula. They would be reunited many years later on the set of Star Trek Enterprise. Dean Stockwell played a Tandaran by the name of Colonel Grat in the episode Detained. So that's that one. That obituary, which has a little bit more information about his career and his life, that's up on dailystartreknews.com. The next one, which we just found out about yesterday, I believe, was Gavin O'Herlihy. He was a pretty prolific actor, and he was known primarily for playing, not primarily, he has a very lengthy Hollywood credit sheet. He played Chuck Cunningham, one of the Chuck Cunninghams in Happy Days, and Ron Howard had a very moving tribute to him on Twitter this week as well. He played the Kazon leader Majay Jabin in the Voyager series premiere episode Caretaker. His death was reported earlier this week. I'm sorry, I don't have the date. It was reported by the Irish Post, and also he has an obituary in the Hollywood Reporter. He was 70 years old, and he died in the UK. That obituary, that full one, is to come in the next couple days when we get that posted. But please check dailystartreknews.com for these two, and please join me and everybody here with sending regards to their families. All right. So the big news this week really is that we're starting up with Star Trek Discovery season 4, and it's kind of crazy because if you remember back to last year at the height of the pandemic, we really weren't sure when we were going to get season 3. And since then we've had season 3 and we're just going full steam ahead into season 4. So once again, that's coming up this Thursday on Paramount Plus and other places around the globe. But one of the things that I was really happy to see was there was an interview that Decider published this week with Wilson Cruz and Anthony Rapp, and they were talking about Jet Reno uh, and Tig Notaro in particular, who early on in filming of season 4, she was not able to go to Toronto, and so we weren't really sure what her role was going to be like in season 4. And of course, she is in the future with the rest of the Discovery crew. But for those of you Jet Reno fans, I am one of them. You'll be really pleased to know that she's going to be in what Wilson Cruz calls a lot. His quote was saying she's in it a lot. In the time that they had, they really put her to work. So she's been up there in Toronto filming recently and made up for lost time, apparently. Anthony Rapp, who plays Paul Stamets, and of course they have such a great um, bickering relationship. He says he would love to see her in every episode, but we're going to get enough. Is what's going on. Also, just over the next week, keep an eye on social medias and stuff. I think we'll probably do a post earlier this week with all the preview pictures that we have. If we see any more trailers, get yourself excited for Star Trek Discovery season 4. It's going to be a pretty big season, and once again, that starts on Thursday on Paramount Plus and other places around the world. If you do not have a Paramount Plus subscription already, please consider doing that through Daily Star Trek News. We have an affiliate link with them, which helps us out a little bit. You can find out all the details on that. dailystartreknews.com/Paramount Plus with a PLUS. All right. So, for those of you who were here last week, I went on a rather lengthy rant about how I thought it was such a wonderful idea that they were going to be putting Star Trek Prodigy and Star Trek Discovery on simultaneously. I thought that was a really great test of Paramount Plus's ability to show 2 different Star Trek series with different demographics on at the same time. And they like to prove me wrong, so that's not going to happen. Basically, is what the deal is. So this was announced quite early last week. Prodigy's going on hiatus. There was a press release that kind of dropped a few little bombs. So, I mean, okay, so let me back up a second. The big news of the press release was that Star Trek Prodigy has been renewed for season 2. So they've officially said we're having a season 2 of Star Trek Prodigy. I don't think any of us are surprised. But in the same press release, they also announced that not only are we getting a season 2, but that season 1 is actually going to be twice as long as we originally thought. Now, I did some research into this to try and find if they'd ever actually said anywhere how long season 1 was going to be, and I actually couldn't find anything directly from Nickelodeon or Viacom CBS. I did find it was who was the original? I want to say it was one of the Hollywood rags, Variety or Deadline, attributed Prodigy to having 10 episodes in their first season, but I couldn't find an official version of that. Anyway, now it's going to be 20. Uh, but the catch is you're not going to get them straight away. So we were kind of laboring under the impression that we were going to have a straight Prodigy season, which so we just had episode 4. So we were expecting to have that come through the end of the year, overlapping with Discovery, which would then go into next year. And then we've got Picard and Strange New Worlds, etc. But they're not doing that. This Thursday, episode 5 of Star Trek Prodigy season 1 is going to be the last one before they go on hiatus. And they're going on hiatus for, I think it's about 6 weeks. They're coming back in January to round out the next 5. And then they're going to do another 10 sometime next year. They didn't say when. I'm assuming, I don't know. The whole thing's strange. I don't know what to expect, honestly, because we're kind of getting out of the realm of what people normally do. So we're doing 5 episodes now, a 6 week break. They'll have a little bit of overlap in the spring as well. Sorry, in January with another 5 episodes. But then we already know that Picard is coming out and Strange New Worlds is going to be after that. So are they gonna overlap the other 10? I don't know. They were very vague. I wonder if I have a quote here from when they're gonna do it. They just said at a later date next year to be announced. So it's a mixed bag for Prodigy. I'm not gonna lie, it's been a little bit difficult for me to get into it. I actually haven't seen this week's episode yet because I know that it's gonna be like going on break soon, so it's hard for me to get into it. But um, I think on balance we're doing well. We've got a 20 episode season and a season 2 coming, but you're gonna have to wait for it. That's sometimes the way it goes. Anyway, so I completely. I don't backtrack on what I said last week. I still think it would have been a good idea for them to run simultaneously, eh, but it's now a moot point because they're not going to. Honestly, I'd love to hear what any of you think about that. Leave me a comment or something, or drop me an email, because that was really a thing that I was really looking forward to seeing what would happen there. But such is not the case. Okay, moving on from that to other disappointing Star Trek news. So okay, so the Star Trek 4, Arabic numeral 4, supposedly the fourth in the Kelvin timeline, although we don't know, has been a tumultuous journey thus far. It was Noah Hawley, then it wasn't Noah Hawley, and it was it's gone back and forth. And then earlier this year, they announced that a new Star Trek film was slated to be released June 2023, which is great news. We like to have a kind of like a firm something we're aiming for, but that's not going to happen anymore. That has been delayed until December of that year. So what do we got? The delay is going to affect both the Star Trek and also Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. The next installment of the Star Trek movie franchise is gonna premiere on December 22nd, 2023. Now, I don't read anything into it. I think if you follow Hollywood news at all, everyone is delaying their movies. I don't know why that is. My suspicion is because they're trying to plan around unknown effects of COVID-19, and also things like streaming is kind of messing up how people release movies. Uh, it's possible that they're having production issues or disagreements. I don't know. We've had a management shuffle over at Paramount Pictures recently, so that could have something to do with it too. I don't know. And it's also like 2 years away. But the important thing to note is that the next Star Trek movie, which may or may not be Star Trek 4, is now no longer a June release. It is now a December release, December 22nd, 2023. Oh, and don't forget, while you're waiting, you can just watch all 13 of them over and over again on Paramount Plus because they're all there now, which the completionist in me is really actually happy about that. I think I talked about it last week on this show, but all 13 films in one place, I'm happy with. All right. So that's it for sort of franchise movie news. I wanted to next tell you about something that kind of affected me this week. I don't know if you saw this post. As many of you know, Wil Wheaton is not on Twitter anymore. I think he's on Facebook, but he's definitely not on Twitter. And I happened to see this post because I follow his wife, Anne Wheaton, and it was very scary. And I had to read it a few times before I really understood what was going on. Basically, in a blog post on her blog on annewheaton.com, She really did a story of Wil Wheaton had a massive, scary seizure back in August that landed him in hospital. And she recounts in her very personal blog post what happened to her, how she was going through that experience. This was the first I've heard about it. I don't know if it was reported elsewhere before, but it's I believe the cause of it was a conflation of a number of things. I think eventually in her post she said it was a combination of a rapid onset migraine, a pinched nerve, and a prescription medication. And it was very scary. And so, those of you who are very close to your loved ones, you will understand the fear that kind of happens there. I won't read any of it. Obviously, it's not my story to tell. But if you are a fan of Wil Wheaton, and I am a huge, huge fan of his ever since TNG days and before, actually, you'll want to read this. It's very touching and it's very scary, but it's important. So you can go to annwheaton.com for that. The title of the post is In the Blink of an Eye. We've also got links to that on dailystartreknews.com. Please go and read it. All right, so that's all the serious news. And now we get to go to the silly news. So a couple weeks ago, we told you about the one Star Trek phaser rifle that was going up for auction. Now, at the time, the story was that this ridiculous phaser rifle is going up for auction at a starting price of something like, was it $250,000? Um, and that was ridiculous. Why would anybody pay that much for a phaser rifle? But of course, it had precedence. So the last time it went up for auction, it was $231,000 that it sold for, and that was back in 2013. And since that happened, the inventor of the phaser rifle, the original creator, Reuben Klamer, had passed away just a few weeks ago. So that the timing of that was important as well. So that auction's completed now, and you will not believe, you probably heard of it already, you will not believe how much this phaser rifle sold for. It sold for $615,000. $615,000. That would buy a large, wonderful luxury house in most parts of the country. Now, in fairness, there is only one of these, and the package that it comes with had, original sketches and memos and a tremendous amount of memorabilia that also came along with it. If you want a piece of Star Trek history, honestly, if I had that amount of money, I would probably pay that for that. Yeah, I probably would. But still, anyway, it's gone to a new owner now, and for just an astonishing price. I hope it goes to a good home, somebody that's going to look after it and take care of it and just love it every single day. Uh, if you want to go and check out that lot, plus a bunch of other lots that were at the same time, they had original series tunics, they had original tribbles, all of which sold for just astonishing prices, as they do with original Star Trek memorabilia these days. You can find out more about that on entertainment.ha.com. That's the auction house that it sold through. Go and check that out. It'd be a tremendous amount of fun. So anyway, that is it for the news this week. Like I said, all of the stories that I've talked about today, plus a whole bunch more, and including their original sources, videos. There's our events listing, don't forget as well. All of that stuff is over on dailystartreknews.com. You can also sign up for the Daily Star Trek newsletter, which is at dailystartreknews.com/contact, and get all of these stories in your inbox every day, and then you won't have to listen to me wittering on about it all at the weekend. So go and do that. Anyway, so next up in the show, I'm going to do a little bit of show and tell, and I'm going to go over our poll results. But I do want to remind you that everything you see here today, everything that you're listening to, is made possible by people like you through Patreon. You can find out how to add your support at patreon.com/daily Star Trek news. You can support us from just $1 a month, and you can support us on an annual basis from just around $10. So please go and check that out if you like what we're doing here. I would really appreciate it. Yeah. That's it. Oh, also, another way that you can support the show is by signing up to Paramount Plus through our affiliate link. You can find out more about that and how that all works at dailystartreknews.com/Paramount Plus, and that's Paramount Plus. All right. Okay. So I'm going to do show and tell next. Don't forget, if you haven't voted in the poll, go do that right now. What was the poll? It is, which supporting character are you most looking forward to seeing back in action in Star Trek Discovery Season 4? Now, I've picked supporting characters. You are more than welcome to write in your vote as well if there's somebody that I didn't mention. The choices in the poll are Reno, Linus, Owo, and Grudge. I know who I pick, is all I'm saying. Anyway, on to show and tell. And show and tell today is actually, I'm wearing it. I don't often wear different t-shirts, usually I'm in my black t-shirt, but today I'm wearing this one, partially because it's laundry day and partially because I actually adore this t-shirt and there's a good story behind it. So I don't know if there are any Star Trek Online fans in the chat today. You might recognize this one. But this t-shirt is it's a Star Trek Online t-shirt, and it's from their Agents of Yesterday expansion that came out. Geez. When was that? 2016 it must have been? Because, yeah, it must have been 2016 because I will tell you, okay. So, I don't really do cosplay very much. It's not quite my thing. I do I do whatever the equivalent of Disney bounding is usually, which is, not quite cosplay, but like normal clothes that are evocative of the thing you're trying to be in costume with, if that makes sense. But this year in 2016, I actually did do cosplay at Star Trek Las Vegas, and I used this shirt as part of it. I dressed up as Maria Rosso, aka Zeronius Rex, aka the Epo lady, and the lady who does the dance party on Ryza every year. And I had a wig with my pink hair. For those of you who follow Maria Rosso on Twitter, you'll know she's got gorgeous pink hair. And yeah, I cosplayed as her, and I used this t-shirt as part of my ensemble. So it's got the cool little Agents of Yesterday thing here. I don't know if you can see the back Agents of Yesterday. Anyway, that was a great expansion because it was the first time we went from being in 2409, or were we in 2410 by that point? I can't remember. And we went into TOS, and it was all candy colored sets and just a tremendous amount of fun. They have my favorite weapon was a Type 2 phaser rifle, so you can I'm consistent, at least in my love of phaser rifles. Anyway, so my show and tell today is my Star Trek Online t-shirt that I love and I keep and I still wear all the time, despite the fact that it was many, many, many years ago. Anyway, so that's my show and tell for today. Please, I would love to see what your show and tell is. At me on Twitter, drop something in Facebook, or just email me. I would love to see the stuff that, the weird and wonderful stuff that you accumulate over time because your third cousin twice removed once sent you a Star Trek Christmas tree ornament, or I don't know, your kid drew a Delta on your birthday card or something like that. That's the kind of stuff that I love, seeing people's like authentic fandoms. So please share it with me if you feel like doing it. And if you want me to, I'll share it out on our social media too as well. So anyway, thank you for that. So up next, we've got the poll. Which is going. If you guys have not voted in the poll yet in the chat, please do so. I'm going to flip over to Twitter and check on how that's going. And then in the meantime, I'll go through and read some of your chat as well. Okay, where's my Twitter? All right, today's poll question Which supporting character are you most looking forward to seeing back in action in Star Trek Discovery Season 4? I am happy with these results so far. So this is just Twitter. There is still time for you to vote in the chat here. So far, Jet Reno is in the lead with 68.2%, followed by OWO with 18%, followed by Grudge with 9.1%, and Poor Linus down the bottom with just 4.5%. But that one's still going, so you can vote in there. And of course, the chat here is still going. So please, get your vote in there in the next few minutes. All right. Let me just take a few minutes and say hi to some folks. Thank you, everyone, for joining me today, especially if anybody is over in the UK and is missing Destination Star Trek today, or maybe you were there today and you're listening in the evening. That show has a special place in my heart because it was my very, 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 very first Star Trek convention ever in 2014. And I've told that story so many times on this show and others. I never thought I'd go to a Star Trek convention ever again, and now look at me. But 2014 was the year that I met Gates McFadden. It's the year that I dragged my poor suffering children to the most expensive seats I could buy for the TNG reunion panel with William Shatner. It was just a magical experience, and the rest is history. Anyway, let's say hi to some folks. Dark Element 209. Anne. Hi, Anne. I've got your email and I haven't had a chance to respond to you yet. And I do want to talk to you on the show. We got to figure that out. Dr. Mohammed Noor is in the chat. Everyone say hi to him. He's a wonderful person, incredibly smart, and also an actual science advisor for actual Star Trek. He's got a great YouTube channel as well where he talks about Star Trek related biology things. Go and check that out. It's called The Biotrekkie Explains. He's over on YouTube. So go and check that out. He has a whole lab named after him. I'm in awe. Anyway, hi, Mohammed. Oh my gosh, Christoph. Christoph is in the chat. Hi, Christoph. I don't know if he's still there. Christoph is actually in London for Destination Star Trek. You did not have to come and watch the show today, although I do appreciate you being here. Pretty soon I'm going to deputize you as the Daily Star Trek News, a European convention correspondent. I'm only half joking. Call me. Right, Peter, BC. Hi, BC. I'm sorry about the moon. Okay, you know how I haven't had the moon going? I also can't get this to turn on either. So I'm missing batteries today. Paul, did I say hi to Paul yet? And David. Hi, David. Listen, everybody say hi to David and give him a big round of applause, or the equivalent in the chat. David keeps me sane on a daily basis by just being a really excellent writer and keeping all of the content going for Daily Star Trek News. War Dogheim, hello. All right, so you've got about 30 seconds left, and then I'm going to close the poll. Let's see if I can find, are there any questions? Paul says, lol, these YouTube videos always start with Alison mid-sentence. Right, I'm going to have to figure that out because I apologize. I don't mean to do that. Maybe I'll have to come up with some, I don't know, a little song or dance or, intro music. One of these days I will get around to figuring out how to use an actual streaming software rather than just my webcam. That day is not here yet though, so sorry. So in reference to talking about Dean Stockwell, Peter H. points out that there is a a bit of a nod to Quantum Leap on the Enterprise episode Detained, um, punching with Dean Stockwell's character punching keys on his handheld device, just like Al did. With his probably not with the cigar though. I think they'd probably finished that before. But didn't Ziggy just not Ziggy? Didn't Al just basically have a tricorder? Isn't that basically what that was? Come on, Ziggy. Yeah. Uh, Christoph also makes a very good point. He says Paramount Plus will come to the UK in early 2022, around the corner. He says, this is consistent with other things that I've heard. This type of thing, it's like it happens uh, eh, slowly at first and then all of a sudden. So Paramount Plus is coming as part of the Sky Q service. I went and checked on Sky Q, and they don't have, or at least in the UK, they don't have, like, the press releases have all said about that Paramount Plus is going to come to that service, but if you go and you try to go through their website, there's no reference yet to Paramount Plus. Although, listen, all parties involved there have a huge amount of motivation to get that up and running, because Paramount Plus is, you know, they're not top tier. I like that Disney Plus totally copied Star Trek Day, but whatever. But Paramount Plus is being taken seriously as a streamer, so everyone has motivation to get them going in Europe. So that's very exciting. Also, speaking of things that are completely rumor and not, based in fact or anything real, there is a post going around on Twitter today from the Trek Central talking about the fact that John Van Citters, the VP of Product Development for Star Trek, has said that, and I'm not quoting, that basically Voyager and DS9 are going to get an HD remake at some point. He basically said it will happen. He clarified a little bit, saying that he thinks it'll happen at some point and he would love to see it. I don't take that at all as an indication of anything actually happening. But people love the idea of the HD remakes of those shows. It sounds like people are talking about it. So, oh well. Okay. Any more questions? Okay, give me a couple more questions. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll. Okay. I'm going to check really quickly and see if anything's changed on the Twitters. Nope, it's still exactly the same. And here in the poll, you guys, you make me so happy. Right, 64% of the vote said that they're looking forward to seeing Jet Reno back in Star Trek Discovery Season 4. I totally agree. I love her character so much. She is one of the most believable characters on Star Trek Discovery. I mean, remember, this woman was stranded by herself in the middle of a war on a meteorite or whatever, and having to care for all these people. She was an engineer and she just made it work. That woman has got history. She's got grit. I love that she does not take any crap from Paul Stamets. I can't say enough about her. So really looking forward to seeing her in season 4. Now here's something that's slightly different. Grudge came in second place at 21%. Now I like the cat. I don't really understand the cat, but I like the cat. Plus they're a Maine Coon, and I used to raise Maine Coons, so I'm a fan of the Maine Coon. Disappointing result for Owo. She is one of my favorite characters. I loved her in the Mirror Universe. She's just like so... and really rocks gold eyeliner in a way that I will never be able to, and I'm totally jealous of. Then poor Linus. Is it the sneezing thing? Because he kind of looks like a lizard. I don't know. I'd like to see more from Linus. We'll see what happens. Anyway, Oh man, Paul Wright in the chat. I am not sure what this comment is in reference to, but he's talking about Tarantino Trek. Can we let that die, please? It's not happening. Feel free to quote me on that when it actually happens, but whatever. Anyway, David in the chat says we need a Reno novel. Have we not had a Reno novel? Why do I feel like we did? Unless that's just wishful thinking. I don't know, David, you're buddies with Dayton Ward. You did his interview, so get on that. I'm just saying if it doesn't happen, it's not your fault. Anyway, that is all that I have for today. We've covered the poll, we've covered show and tell, we've covered the news. That's all I got. So, listen, just a reminder, this Thursday is the last episode of Star Trek Prodigy for a while. It's this episode 5, and then we'll get the new one in January. It is the season premiere of Star Trek Discovery Season 4. Social media and the hashtag TrekFam is going to be insufferable for a few days. So if you want to avoid spoilers, make sure that you mute hashtag Star Trek Discovery everywhere. Also, if you happen to be watching Star Trek Discovery and you want to talk about it, please use the hashtag Star Trek Discovery so that you don't spoil it for other people. And otherwise, I will see you on the flip side. Next week, I am definitely doing a show. The week after that, which is the week after Thanksgiving here in the United States, I am not going to be doing a show. So next week is the last one for 2 weeks. I would love to see you there. And yeah. All right. So I just want to remind you, for those of you who are listening to the podcast, first of all, if you have made it this far, congratulations and thank you. Really, if you have the time, if you're able to, come and join us on YouTube. It's a tremendous amount of fun and everybody's in the chat and it's great. Also, just another reminder that you can find all of this week's stories and more stories, plus all the links to the original sources, more videos, more photos, things like people's tweets. All of that is on dailystartreknews.com, as well as our weekly events listing. Go check that out, please. And of course, if you're missing your daily fix, then don't forget to sign up for the Daily Star Trek newsletter at dailystartreknews.com/contact. It's basically you get all of this without me waffling on, but you get just the good stuff in your inbox every morning. You don't have to do anything. You just give me your email address. Right. Anyway, thank you again for listening. This show is produced by me, Alison Pitt, and all of the content, all of this week's stories are written by Chris Peterson, Marina Kravchuk, Jack Brown, T. Rick Jones, and David Powell. Today's show, of course, was supported by people like you through Patreon. You can find out more and add your support from just $1 a month at patreon.com/Daily Star Trek News. I will be back next week with more of the Star Trek news you need to know. I'm Alison Pitt. Live long and prosper.